primes and procurement opportunities and all that. So hopefully this will kind of cover a little bit of everything for you. And then yes, also as Connor said, we have Q&A and chat. So if you do have any questions during the presentation, pull up your Q&A. It should be under the more on your Zoom bar. And then there also is a chat file as well, or chat screen. Try to put just, you can network in there and any comments or anything, but try to put questions separate in the Q&A so I can distinguish them from all the chatter going on. I see people introduce. Feel free to introduce yourself. You never know who's in the room. Share your LinkedIn profile if you have one, your email address, website, whatever you want to share that would say be on your, business card, perhaps, or your capability statement, whatever that is. So, like I said, I always say in any room you're in with other businesses, you don't know if there's somebody you can do business with, connect, collaborate with. So, always, whether it's in person or online, always pass out your physical or digital business cards or information. So feel free to share. So a little bit about me if you probably haven't met me, at least virtually. Maybe I teach all over the place. So I have been in the online space, as you can see here, for a million years. I say since the internet dinosaurs roamed the earth. Back in 98, I helped a gift basket company launch their e-commerce business. They were a traditional catalog and retailer at the time and turned it into a multi-million dollar part of their business. Been in the wine industry actually 22 years. Still need to update it for this year. But I do work with all types of clients in all industries. You can see here business to business, business to consumer, and a little bit of business to government, done a couple government City of LA contracts. And I do teach all over today for Meriwether-Williams. I teach for SCORE chapters across the country, SBDCs, the LA Business Source Center. So a little bit everywhere. I do serve locally here in Los Angeles on a couple boards, the Venice Chamber of Commerce and NAWBO, the National Association of Women Business Owners, if you're not familiar, and of course BizFed Los Angeles. I'm not no longer on the Small Business Employment and Labor Committee as of this year, but I did serve last year, and I am an advisor for their Advocacy Academy program. So that is me. So let's talk about marketing. So what we're going to cover today, identifying your customers, hopefully finding new ways to get noticed by prime contractors, figuring out networking, marketing versus advertising, what that means, marketing value and pricing, building brand equity, social media, and your website, and budgeting for marketing. That's always going to be a little different for everybody. I'm just kind of giving just a little overall basics in the time that we have. It won't be too deep. I do teach, as I mentioned, classes. I have a LinkedIn Essentials, email marketing, social media. So if you want deeper dives, I'll make sure you have my YouTube channel link with some previous recordings on there as well to dive deep. But so let's talk about identifying your customers, right? So if you're already doing, I'm assuming, let's see if you want to actually share in the chat, so I don't assume, because you don't like assuming. Is everybody out there looking to do contract work? Have you already done contract work? So if you want to share in the chat, like where are you at with that? Or do you work privately? Or are you just looking for procurement opportunities? So I kind of have an idea of who's in the room and what you're doing. And let me make sure I have it, there we go, set to everyone. So figuring out who your customers are, right? I mean, if you are, that's two different things. I was talking about that with Connor, like your subcontractors as a business, right? But then your subcontractors as a procurement, right? So you're looking for primes. I'm assuming, is anybody in the room prime, or are you all subcontractors? So we do contract work, city, county, state, and federal. Okay, so you're already doing it, so you kind of know who your contract, and share if you want to share in the chat. So I also have an idea right now, what's your biggest challenges, what your biggest need is as far as finding customer or finding contracts, connecting with primes. What is it that, is kind of eating at you every day? Like, I need this. If you want to share that in the chat, that will help me kind of guide a little bit of the conversation. Some of this might be already elementary for some of you. You're like, I'm already doing contracts, right? So figuring out who it is you need to reach out to, right? Is it directly to the government agencies and municipalities? Is it looking for the GCs that are looking for subcontractors, the property owners, developers, facility, HOA, repeat commercial clients? Who is it? Somebody says the hardest part of looking for contracts is all the portals, right? So I don't necessarily cover that, but it's true. There's a lot of, and I was just talking to somebody about that. There probably is a tool out there or AI to figure it out because I had an advising session with somebody and he's like, where can I just find all the contracts in one place? And somebody had developed a tool. I couldn't figure out who it was that took all of the contracting opportunities across the country and aggregated onto one site. I don't think it exists. I think they were working on it, but you're right. There's a lot of places to find opportunities out there. It's like, and you have to, part of it's that networking opportunity to see what's out there locally or just what's on all the different portals. And then knowing your niche, of course, what trade or specialty sets you apart, what geography, your projects, what's project size is your sweet spot, who refers you most often. So that's setting up referral sources. Where have you won before? So some of this might be obvious and things you've already done for some of you, others it might be new. It says the clearest contractors win the most work, right? Being out there in front of people, right? So getting noticed by primes, right? So get certified if you're not already certified. I'm assuming everybody should have a capability statement. Anybody not have a capability statement? Know what that is? So if you don't have one, put no, you don't have one. So it's basically a one-page document with everything about you, your past performance, your next codes, your personnel, all that stuff. So if you have it ready, digitally and physical. So if you do go to physical locations, you might want to have physical capability statements, and then obviously people like digital. I think I set mine up with a QR code and have it on my website on a landing page as well. So make it easy for them to find it if they're wanting a digital version. And then definitely always follow up, right? It says follow up like a pro, meeting them, follow up with an email quickly, connect on LinkedIn if they're on LinkedIn. Definitely, staying in their pocket as much as you possibly can. And that, falls for any kind of marketing and sales that you do, right? You always want to make sure you follow up as well. And have the networking tools, right? I already mentioned the capability statement. I would say, sometimes they don't want the capability statement, having your card. And I would say, even in this day and age where everything seems to be digital, I always like to have physical cards. And I put my QR code with my hi, hello. I use that digital app on there, which has all of this information on the right. So it can link out. See, the top thing I have there is capability statement. And that goes to the landing page I think I described. Schedule a coaching session, join my LinkedIn groups and newsletters and all that. So they can get all that digitally, but I still like to hand people a card. And I still like to receive cards because then I have a card I can take back with me. I forget kind of who I scanned on the hi, hello, or whichever app that they had, I had to scan. And then it's harder to follow up for me, but that's just me. So I want to make sure I have a physical card with me at all time and bring a stack wherever you go. Don't just show up with a few. I've seen people do this. They don't show up with anything to any of these events. So you should always have them. And you never know if these digital apps stop working and you don't have anything, right? So that's most important. Let me just see if there's other responses on people are what you're looking for. Biggest need is connecting with homeowners, general contractors, realtors. Okay, perfect. The portals, contract package preparation. Okay, there are definitely people out there that help with that. And even, I've heard people, I haven't done it myself, but have done anybody here done RFPs through using AI to help you create it? I've had some people who actually done that. I'd always double check and make sure. So you don't want to have anything wrong on there. So very important. There are services out there that do help with RFPs and figuring it out, right? So making sure that you find all the tools, let's see if I can help you with that as well. So marketing versus advertising, right? So what is really the difference, right? So marketing is definitely strategy to build relationships, your reputation, positioning, your story, networking, your LinkedIn, it says LinkedIn content, but it's basically your content, doing referrals, your website and capability statement, that's part of your marketing, long-term brand awareness, right? Advertising, obviously paid promotion, right? So we're physically advertising somewhere. So whether it's Google Ads, Facebook, job boards, LinkedIn, wherever you're advertising and spending money. And of course, it stops when you stop paying for it, right? You put up a billboard and you take the billboard down, you're no longer advertising, right? Or marketing, you're building your brand and your reputation and brand awareness over time, building your social capital, I call it. Um, which is out there getting out in front of people, especially here, right? I think we're all in Los Angeles area, Southern California, right? Big area, big town, but sometimes it seems kind of small, right? You see the same people over and over again. You go to all these meet the primes and matchmaking events and general networking events, and you wind up seeing the same people over and over again, building those relationships out there. So as big as this area seems, it's really quite small in the business sense. Excuse me. So definitely marketing builds your foundation, the brand awareness and all that, and then advertising can amplify that, right? So, and yes, somebody does say, is it Allah? Says using most AI most of the time for RFPs. Do you use a particular AI tool to create them? Google, Gemini, Claude, ChatGPT, any others that you'd recommend that are good for RFP building? That'd be if you want to share that, that'd be great. So marketing value and pricing. Pricing is what you charge. Value is why they pay it, right? So I know they wanted to cover some on pricing. So knowing your cost of doing business, right? Every proposal, I hopefully have this figured out with whether you're working directly with contracts or working with, you know, homeowners or whatever that is. You must cover your overhead plus profit, not just your labor and materials. What is your differentiator? Like we finish on time, we clean up after ourselves, beats the quality work at fair prices. So it's what we call your unique selling proposition. How are you different than the other? I'm going to say if you're electrical contractor, plumbing contractor, whatever that role is, there's a lot of you out there, right? And might be competing for those same sub positions or contracts out there. What makes you different than the other contractors that are out there that do the same work that you do, right? And you don't want to necessarily start pricing. I mean, sometimes it just comes down to price, with contracts. I know I'm not in your world at all, right? I'm in marketing, and sometimes I've been only subs. I've never been a prime. But even with that, it's like we've lost out on contracts just based on price. Sometimes it's, not necessarily we have more experience, but we just didn't undercut. So you have to be careful about that. So it definitely attracts clients potentially, but value pricing attracts repeat clients. So it's always, I'm sure, just like with marketing, it's probably finding your sweet spots with your pricing. Your brand is your pricing power, right? So if you have a strong reputation out there, it allows you to charge more and hopefully still win the bid. I mean, not always, right? I know in some cases it might just be by pricing, even if you've done the contract work before, but just making sure that you do have a solid pricing plan if you don't already there. Okay. And then building brand equity, right? So your brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room. That's what branding is, right? So being very consistent, right? Your logo, your colors, your tone, your language, voice, vision, everything should be completely aligned, right? Confused buyers don't buy. So if you don't have a logo, you don't have a complete branding, your website looks different than your business cards, your LinkedIn's completely different, you have an old logo that you created years ago and you haven't updated it. You want to make sure every touch point that you have is very important in different than your world, but very important. So, obviously here in LA, we have some, pretty big sporting events coming our way in the next couple of years. We have FIFA here in a month and a half, right? In June. In 2 years, we have the Olympics, we have Super Bowl, right? So we're all excited about that. I know there are some construction opportunities out there for that, right? So the head of the LA Sports and Entertainment Commission, Simona Caldwell, I have seen her at two different events over the past year speak in a panel on the stage, and both times she made the point of mentioning that she says if I go to your website or your social media and I don't understand what you do and I'm sitting there scratching my head, I'm going to pass you up. So now you might be not doing business with LASIK, depends on if their contract opportunities for what you do, but she's not the only one who's thinking that way, right? There might be primes out there, other organizations that you might want to work with that are thinking the same, that she wants to see that your website and social media is on point. And these are other business professionals, we're not talking, social media influencers or anything. So it's very important. Your website is your calling card, right? So you have to look at it like great to have be on social media, but just think if social media literally died the next day, no more social media, right? Your website's still there, right? We can't control social media companies. And if they decide, poof, I'm not going to have Facebook anymore, probably not going to happen. It might be a good thing for society if we don't have it. But, right. In the meantime, you always want to make sure your website is totally on point, up to date. It's easy to understand what you do. I'll talk a little bit about, what that should look like as well. Definitely trust. So reference, you have social proof, we call it, references, case studies, photos, videos of your completed work. So they know companies you've worked with or contracts you've worked on. So it's kind of like your capability statement on your website. Visibility, show up before they need you, not just when you're selling, right? So always be out there. You never know, who's looking for what. A lot of times the opportunities might be coming up, and just having them stay top of mind. So if something does come up, like, oh yes, I talked to this person at this event, and they do that, right? So always making sure you're out there being visible as much as possible. And then your story. Why did you start this company? What do you stand for? How long have you been in business? Tell them who you are. Give them that backstory, right? Not just like, yeah, I have 25 years as a plumbing contractor and I can do this, that, and the other. It's like they want to be able to connect with you, and build a relationship with you, not just your skills, right? And then definitely following through, right? Brand equity is built every time you do what you said you would, right? I was just talking to my friend yesterday, colleague and friend, and we're talking about reputation. And it's like, if your reputation is spoiled once, it's very hard to get that back, and being upfront about what you do, transparent, making sure you do a good job, you do the follow up, right? Especially with the work that all of you do, right? So you have to be very careful not to do wrong, because you don't want to be that one that I told him. I said, I don't want to ever be, somebody mentions me in a room and people start rolling their eyes, right? They can do that personally if they want. Not that I do anything that make people roll their eyes, but I've seen that with some people, and it's like as soon as you mention their name, people start rolling their eyes, and it's like you don't want to be that person, right? So keep it, but everything above board and clean, and be that person that everybody's like smiles when they hear about you, right? Your online presence, I already mentioned, make sure you have a Google business profile, which means you have to have a website as well. Your LinkedIn, any reviews, all of that, making sure your online presence is definitely very on point. Right. And then social media. So everybody here on social, yes, put yes, say yes and say yes, raise your hand, say yes in chat. And what social media platforms that you're doing, any of them work to help you get business or get in front of primes or get other, someone mentioned getting in front of residents, what has worked so far, if anybody wants to share. So LinkedIn, right, says high priority here. This is your B2B networking place, potentially to meet primes or connect with primes, procurement officers, right? This is where deals happen. Now, Facebook, right? Community presence, contractor groups. There's probably contractor groups on LinkedIn as well. Reviews, especially if you're working with residents, commercial versus residential. So Facebook, Instagram, again, would also be before and after project photos, great for residential trades. Anybody here do electrician, electrical contractor? If say yes in chat, say yes, say electric in the chat. Yes, Katie, your electrical contractor. So I was working with, oh my gosh, I call them the twins. So I was in this LA Optimize, the city of LA had this LA Optimize program, and these two young guys, they're in their 30s. I call them the kids, the twins, identical twins. Their father was an electrician. They were both electricians. So when I was working with them through LA Optimize, I can't remember who it is, unfortunately, but on Instagram, they shared with me there's a guy. I think he might be in Orange County or San Diego. And he had electrician, and he had like 100,000 followers on Instagram. And I'm like, what? How did this happen? What is he? So we looked at his Instagram page, and it's basically just him doing electrical work, he's not doing it to music or doing any electrical dance challenges or anything. He's just doing his thing like you guys do every day. And we're just marveling at it. I'm like, the twins, like, and they're cute too. I said they could do some fun videos of them doing the work, and that's all it was. So I was really surprised. So if you kind of look up maybe on Instagram, electricians, it's San Diego. I wish I had kept his name, but it's possible, and again, he's just showing his craft, and people like to watch that, and again, he wasn't doing anything funny or, like I said, musical or anything like that. Just he happened to get a lot of followers over time. So it's kind of interesting to see. So get out there and try it and see what happens. YouTube could be explainer videos, project walkthroughs, testimonials. Could almost be like I would say like a live capability statement, but kind of a, do a full like what do you call it? I was gonna say not an entourage, a whole I can't even think of the word today, collage of all of the different projects you can put together. So you could give it almost like a live capability statement kind of thing as well. So social media definitely is important in this day and age, and we'll talk about LinkedIn a little bit more specifically too. So a couple of people said no socials. Instagram has worked the best. I don't know what Cecily does, as well as Nextdoor's or Neighbors Next Door. So not nextdoor.com, but Neighbors Next Door, right? Instagram and LinkedIn. Yes, yes. Okay, so yeah, so some of you are doing social media as well. So that's good. And then, oops, I'm going backwards here. Can't do that. So LinkedIn, right? So we're talking about B2B, the potential to reach out directly to specific people that we can't necessarily on Instagram and other websites where it's just anybody who's following us. Of course, it does work for, I don't know with this electrician that has 100,000 followers, how much business it's bringing to him. I never talked to the guy, but definitely, has a lot of followers. So make sure on LinkedIn, right, you have your professional headshot. I'm going to talk a little bit more in depth about LinkedIn with some of my slides from my class. Your headline, what you do and who you serve. Your about section is very important. It's your story, not your resume. Your certifications that you have. You can highlight past projects, request recommendations of work you've done from your general contractors and clients. Okay, posting, it could be before and after photos of your projects, maybe lessons learned from a job challenge, trade tips, shout outs to crews and members, the partners, events you're attending or speaking at, comment on posts from primes you work with. So here, it's not necessarily that you have to be very prolific, but very consistent. So it says on here, aim for 2 to 3 posts per week, but make sure it's every week. You can use scheduling tools out there to you can create content, schedule it out. So every single week, I'll give you an example from my own, right? So last year, in January, so beginning of the year, I had plans to create more, but the first thing I started with was my Tuesday tips. I call it my Marketing Tuesday tips. And I created one tip a week for the whole year. And I had them all scheduled out in January. Right. And I had plans to do other weekly stuff. And unfortunately, my father had a stroke in March, and my mom, so both of them had health issues all year last year. So I didn't get to do anything past that one post. I was consistently going out every week. And I had a colleague somewhere in the middle of the year say, I see you on LinkedIn all the time. And I'm like, scratching my head, like, really? I'm only there once a week. But what it was, I said I wasn't prolific, but I was consistent, right? Because that post automatically was scheduled out every week. I didn't have to even think about it, didn't worry about it. And when I was in the hospital multiple times last year, so it was all done. This year, I decided to get ahead of the game just in case, and I created 4 different posts that I do every week. So I have a Monday marketing tip, a Tuesday is my blog day, Thursday, Wednesday is my webinar day, and Thursdays are my questions. And they're already all done, all scheduled out for the entire year, right? Because I pre-created all the content. That weird week between Christmas and New Year that nobody knows if they should work, that's your week to do all that stuff. Nobody's bugging you in that week. And now it's like I'm consistent and prolific, and I'm seeing the return. I'm seeing more people reaching out to me from those and saying, oh, I saw your content on LinkedIn. Let's talk. right? So the first one was like, okay, I'm there, seeing me every week, but now it's like I'm prolific and consistent. So I say the more you're out there, the more you're out there, right? So it's at least 2 times per week would be good for LinkedIn. You don't have to be as prolific as you would say for Instagram and Facebook because of their algorithms. A lot more going on there. So you definitely have to post more content there, where with LinkedIn you don't have to. It's up to you if you want to post more so they have more of a chance to see what you're doing out there. Okay. So that's LinkedIn. So let me share a little bit more. So what should you be doing on LinkedIn? Right, definitely making connections. I'll talk about that in a minute, how to look people up. Follow company pages. So if there are companies, whether it's primes that you'd want to do business with or contracts out there, whatever it is, companies that you'd want to work with, follow their pages. You want to post content, as I mentioned, what type of content you want to put out there. You want to be reciprocal, right? If other people are posting content, you want to, it's not a one-way conversation here. You just kind of post and run, right? If we were meeting at a mixer and, we walk up to each other, you wouldn't tell me what you do and then walk away, right? You'd hopefully listen to what I had to say, I would hope, right? And I wouldn't like, tell you what I do and like walk away without you telling me. So again, we're being reciprocal and sharing. It's here, we're just doing it digitally. Creating a newsletter, which is basically a blog. It's called a newsletter on here, or an article, but it's basically a blog. So a blog for you could be past jobs that you've done, right? Or case studies and things like that to attract those primes, giving some more details as well. Participating groups. So there could be groups of contractors and maybe things for RFPs or other maybe trade groups, things like that. A lot of deals happen in groups, so definitely checking those out. That'd be appropriate for your business. So basically just network, right? And that's what this platform is all about, right? So the LinkedIn presence, so this always confuses people, right? Sorry, take a swig there. So, two things. This works exactly like Facebook. We all start with what's called a profile. Okay, I want you to stick with me with this terminology. It's not a personal profile and a business profile. You have a profile, and that is you. That is your name, your professional resume, your jobs you've had, your skills, your education, your volunteer work, all of the professional stuff. Just like with Facebook, but that's all your personal stuff, right? And that should be your name with your headshot. You can use a banner with your business if you want, but this is how you connect to people. Okay, people connect to people here. So you should only have one profile because you're only one person. Okay, you can have multiple company pages that are managed under your profile, just like Facebook, right? You can't just go set up a company page without a person managing it. So they work exactly the same way. You can have as many company pages as you want under your profile, but you're only one person. And I'd recommend if you've been off and on LinkedIn is look up your name, see if you have any other profiles under there, and if you have access to them, name and password, yeah, sorry, email and password, delete those other ones, right? Because you don't want people to be confused if they're looking you up to see like which one is your current one, right? So it might be obvious because it's maybe most up to date, but make sure you only have one. Now, I don't know if this will apply to all of you, but I've been asked this question like, okay, what if I have like different situations going on, right? I do this job by day, but then I'm also building this other business, like maybe I'll just use an example. Maybe somebody's starting out as a new plumbing contractor, but you're still working a job at a company. It hasn't anything to do with it, but I have this job I'm working at to make sure I earn money while I'm building my plumbing contracting business, but the other company, I don't want them to know what's going on. I'm not supposed to have a side gig or whatever. There's no way around that. There, you have to kind of pick a lane. It's hard to have two different things going on and you have to kind of hide them from each other. So there's no way you can't do an alias or set up under a different name. It's like, you're just that one person. So it is a little tricky if you have situations like that. So I don't know if that applies to anybody here. But again, pick whatever lane you can with that. So So again, profile, one profile, and you can have as many company pages as you want. Okay. And if you don't have a company page, it's easy to set up. So at the top, you just go to that work icon at the top, go to the drop down, and then at the bottom you can see that's create a company page. And then we're all a company. Okay, we're not a showcase page or an educational. Just so you know, if you're curious about the showcase page, that would be something like almost a general contractor could probably be that, maybe of thinking general contractor, and then they have some subs under it. But I use the example like, say, Microsoft company, right? So they might have one main LinkedIn, but maybe they want to set up a showcase page just for Microsoft 360 or Microsoft Office Suite, right? They have a lot of different things to showcase, but we're not that, so we would just be a company. Okay. And then it's a pretty easy page to fill out your business name at the top, not your name. Your LinkedIn company URL should be your company name, and make it simple so that if you were to put it on your business card, it's just linkedin.com/in mine's Golden State Marketing. Don't use hyphens, periods, or anything. I had to, if you can see mine, because somebody else had Golden State Marketing here in California. They went out of business and they never closed down their LinkedIn, and I couldn't reach them to delete it so I can take it. But keep it as simple as possible so that if you're giving it out, putting it on a card, it's an easy to understand. Put in your website industry, your organization size, your organization type, your logo for your business. Okay, this isn't your headshot, this is your logo. Put in a tagline, and then just make sure once you submit this and create the page, you go back, excuse me, you go back under the manage page section, and there's an edit button on the side navigation. Make sure you go in and fill everything out. There are some other sections to fill out, like an about section for the company. LinkedIn wants you to have all that filled out. Make sure, again, you put in a company logo on there and a banner on the top. And here's the banners. If you're not familiar with Canva, it's a great marketing material design. You can do everything on here. There are templates for creating banners, business banners. So for your LinkedIn profile, it's the one called LinkedIn background photo. All you have to do is type in LinkedIn and it will search. For your company page, it's called the LinkedIn career page background. I know it's not business, it's called career, but it's the same size. You could have them match, both your profile and your company page if you want, or you can design them differently. It's totally up to you. But very easy. There's plenty of templates to start with on Canva if you're not a designer to create those. Those are very easy. But make sure you have a banner there and don't leave the blank stock background on there. So that's LinkedIn. So how do you find leads on LinkedIn, right? So right, different ways to do it, but you search, right? So for example, I just had this example already. You're looking for mechanical engineers. Maybe it's like general contractors, right? And then you can, on the free version, you can do a little bit of filtering. So let's just say I want to find them in the greater metropolitan Los Angeles area or all of California or wherever, whatever sort you want to do. There's a couple different filters you can use. And then it's going to pull up anybody that's called a mechanical engineer. Okay, and you can choose to connect with them. And when you hit the connect button, if you haven't done this before, you can choose to send it with or without an invitation. Okay, so just keep in mind with the free version, they recently changed this that I still can't find it published anywhere, but I think I've heard it's only about 6 per month. I think it used to be more. On the paid versions, it's more. I think it might be even unlimited. So it could be, use them sparingly, like somebody you met at a conference, or hey, thanks for talking to me at that matchmaking event, or meet the primes, unless you want to pay so you can do more. But a study that was done with and without invitations, it was about equal that people accepted the invitation. It's just nice when you're following up with somebody so they know, like, oh yeah, I met you at that event, right? So once you do that, once somebody's accepted the invitation, some people use this as an opportunity to immediately sell, right? You probably have seen it. And I always talk about this. Everybody says, oh, they just start spamming me. And I'm like, we want to take that out of our vocabulary, right? When we're promoting our business, we're not spamming. Okay, we're here on LinkedIn to connect with each other and network, just as if we're all sitting in a room together at a mixer, probably have better drinks and food than we have here, right? Um, and we walk up to each other and introduce ourselves, hand our cards, tell us what we do, right? Do we call that spamming? Anybody consider that spamming? I don't think so, right? We're like, stop spamming me. Don't walk up and me tell me what you do. Don't spam me, right? We don't do that. But for some reason, when we do the same thing in the digital world, we consider it spamming, right? I just say some people on LinkedIn, right, or in general are more, I call it sales forward, right? I don't want to say aggressive or salesy or whatever. I just want to say sales forward, right? They're out there dialing for dollars, making their numbers, and they have to like, hey, as soon as we connect, hey, let me tell you all about how I can get you more clients and show you the latest marketing tools. And hey, let's schedule a call and I'll make you $1 million, right? We all probably get those types of DMs, right? Once they connect with us. But that's okay. That's their style, and it could work for them. They might, with numbers that they hit, they might hit some people who are interested in that, and we'll schedule a call with them. I would like to be more reciprocal and say, hey, thanks for connecting. How can I help you? Tell me about who you're looking for. Who would be an ideal client for you? Right? Rather than let me tell you all about my marketing services and I'm going to set you up for a call right away. Both work. Can't hate on the players, right? Let them do their thing, but don't look at it as spamming, okay? Because all we're doing, if we have that mindset about spamming, then we're going to be afraid to promote our own business and get out there and in front of the primes and the residents, whoever it is that you want to get in front of as your potential customers, right? We're not spamming, we're promoting our business, we're trying to make the money, right? Don't be shy about that, okay? So that's the basic connecting. Oops, I keep going backwards. There we go. Um, so there's another way to do a search if you want to kind of narrow it down a little bit. Is called a Boolean search, right? So in this case, I'm not looking for environmental engineers. I'm looking for owners of environmental engineering firms. So what I do, if you can read it at the top there, it's a little small. I'm using a Boolean search, which is using quotes around the different terms. So quote environmental engineering and quote owner. So this way, anybody who comes up that calls themselves an owner on their profile and there's the term environmental engineering in there will pull up, right? So it could be, owner of construction company, and you can put those terms in there, owner in construction or owner in plumbing or owner in electrical, whatever the terms you're looking for, and then you'll see it pull up. Now, keep in mind, right, that we call ourselves different things. Like I'm not an owner of my company. I call myself a CEO. I think I put CEO and founder on my card. Um, so you have to try different Boolean searches to find everybody. So it might be environmental engineer and owner or and CEO or and president, right? Or general manager. So whatever different terms, right? Just like say if I was looking for English teachers at Los Angeles Unified School District, right? We all call it something different here in LA. So some teacher uses LAUSD or LA Unified School District, right? Or I always call it LA Unified because my mom was a teacher there, right? All those different terms you'll have to try because they won't all pull up. If you type in LAUSD, it won't pull up LA Unified School District. Senior partner at a law firm could be a president, executive director, right? CEO of a law firm. So you have to try different searches. If you pay for, and that's the free version, if you pay for like Sales Navigator, you can do multiple searches at once. I can choose the different titles and it will find them all at the same time. So, but just on the basic, you can do this Boolean search to kind of narrow it. This way, like at the environmental engineering firm, it won't pull up everybody who works there, the marketing manager and the janitor and the IT director and the HR director, just find the owners or CEOs or et cetera. So hopefully that makes sense, right? So your website. So, and if you want to learn a little bit more on LinkedIn, I do have a LinkedIn Essentials class. I'll make sure you get the YouTube channel with the previous recording. I teach every week live, but you can watch the previous recordings too. Website, right, is your 24/7 salesperson. I mentioned that, like Simona Caldwell said, if your site is not up to par and she doesn't know what you do, you might be bypassed, right? And that might be the same with subs out there, sorry, with primes out there or your other customers that you potentially have if they don't understand what you do. So definitely, as soon as they come there, right, within the seconds, talk about, okay, you guys can relate. Guys, who builds houses here, right? So let's go. You're inviting somebody to walk up to your house. right? Knock on the door, they walk in, and you let them in, they start walking around the house, right? And it's like, okay, I'm looking for the kitchen, I can't find the kitchen, where's the bathroom? Okay, if I go to this bedroom, I have to jump out the side window to get out, right? So it has to make sense. People might look in the house, peek around, and like walk right back out the door because they're confused. They don't like what they see. It doesn't make sense, right? Maybe you have ugly decor, right? The confused decor in there. So making sure it's very clear who you are, what you do, who you serve, right? So very important to have that there. That would hit Simona's buttons right there, very clear. Your services page, describe your trade's plain language, can link your capability statement or have a separate navigation to it so it's very clear, right? Your past work, so photos, videos, project details, right? This is your proof of what you do. Some of it might, I can imagine, depending on the contractors, like if you do plumbing, things that might be like you can't show the after of like, well, here's the house and the plumbing's in the walls, right? I swear I did it, right? But maybe during the project, if you're doing the work, and yeah, you could show the finished project too. Like I worked on this house or building or whatever it is that you worked on. But maybe it's the during pictures that might be the electrical, the what do they call internals, I guess, of the project. Definitely have your contact information, right? Your phone, email, a simple contact form. Make it easy to reach you, right? I know this may or may not apply to you. Potentially, depends on what you're doing. Unfortunately, think about last year in January, we had the fires here, right, in LA, Palisades and Altadena. And this came out of a procurement event I went to, and they had the state of California, the general services, and the LA County and city of LA were all on a panel together. And they were mentioning, she said, of course, we knew the fires were happening quickly. I live near the Palisades, so I was more affected by that than the Eaton fires. And but everything was happening quickly, right? And she said we were looking for catering services. We couldn't find anybody that would pick up their phone in the LA area. They found a caterer in San Diego. They were looking for porta potties. They found one company that answered the phone at whatever it was 2 o'clock in the morning. They had only like two or three porta potties. They went outside of LA County for that. I think even they were talking about goats, to trim down the eat the grass and the all of that stuff. They had to get goats from Sacramento. I'm like, I need to go in the goat business now, right? But if they were looking for construction projects, they said if you don't pick up your phone, I mean, 24/7, you could lose out. And those are things that aren't like RFPs that, are months out. This was an immediate need. So if there was an immediate need for any of your services, are you available 24/7, especially around emergencies? Again, I don't know who's in the room and what services you offer, but if you are anything that could be a emergency services, definitely make sure that you have your pager going, right? Back in the day, whatever that is, your cell phones and, somebody who will wake you up at 3 o'clock in the morning when that call comes in. So you don't want to miss any potential business. So make it easy to reach out to you. Your Google business profile, which links to your site. So that's if you go to your site to type in your business name, and on the right side, you'll see the Google business profile with all of the details of information there, and it will link to your site. You want to make sure you have that set up on there. But again, your website first if you don't have one. Okay. And then budgeting for marketing, right? So it says a general rule, 2 to 5% of your annual revenue for marketing. I've always heard 10%, right, of your budget. Now, if you don't have any revenue, that wouldn't be a very big budget, but generally think about 2 to 5%. It could be more. Things that are, I would say, free to low cost, like, other than your time, unless you hire somebody to do it for you, set up your Google business profile, your LinkedIn profile, get that all set up. I mean, free networking and events. You might have to pay to do the networking event, but generally low cost. Parking probably costs more than, than the networking event. An email follow-up system of some kind, right? Website, so 500 to 2,000. These are rough numbers, right? So you think website hosting and maintenance, capabilities, statement design, branded materials if you're going to have, you need those, right? Business cards, things like that, your card shirts, truck wraps, whatever. Spending more, and this is on the very low side, like SEO work. That would, I have a colleague who that's his whole business. He does SEO and it's probably like 1,500 a month and he's brilliant at it. He could do Google ads, YouTube ads, all of these SEO, um, you know, what we call the generative GEO is finding the term generative engine optimization, which is AI, right on there. Maybe you need to pay somebody to do photo and videos of completed projects, unless you just, use your phone. You hiring somebody to do your marketing, that could be, more than what you see here. So figuring out like what is the best option? Is it you do it yourself? And time is money, and your time is valuable as well. You should be out there doing projects, I'm assuming, right? So do you need somebody to manage all of your marketing and making sure you're consistent? Can you do it yourself? Do you hire externally or internally? What does that look like? So this is just a general sense for your budget of what you should do here with for marketing. But takes money to make money, right? You need to have a marketing budget in order to make money, right? So very important part of your marketing, getting out there. And then, thinking about the other opportunities here in Los Angeles, and I'm sure you're all somewhat dialed in, right? There's tons of Meet the Prime events. There are different procurement programs out there. So just, I say there's a fire hose of resources in Los Angeles, but I'd say a lot of businesses don't know there's a fire hose, and you should know there's a fire hose. How to turn the water on, how to point, how to get wet, with all of these potential resources. So I would say, definitely, and I'm setting up a page on my website with all the resource links, but definitely places like SCORE, their business organization I teach for. They have free mentors and all different types of programs. The Business Source Centers of Los Angeles, like PACE, they have Procure LA, definitely be part of that program. We have a couple of different things around the sporting events. I have a program with one of my colleagues called SoCal Wins, SOCAL wins.org. And the website, you can go to it today. We're just kind of soft launching it. But you can go there and create a capability statement, plug in all your information, it will spit out a capability statement, basic one. It won't be pictures and all that, but it'll spit out a capability statement. So socalwins.org. So tons of great resources out there. I'll make sure I'll have that ready and get that to Connor so you have those resources. But definitely get on all the lists. Get, Access LA and all of those that have these, ramp. If you're on, of course, City of LA's rampla.org, get on the county's procurement site, the state, all of them send emails. One thing to look at too, I'm going to type this in the chat. So if you're familiar with Planet Bids, right? So a lot of the municipalities and agencies and companies are using Planet Bids as their supplier RFP spot. So if you wanted to find them all, you'd have to know their individual Planet Bids login information. But Planet Bids has something called Vendor Line, and I think it might be vendorline.com. I'm just going to type it in the chat just to remind you. It is a paid thing, but what it does is I think I've been paying for a couple of years, like $300 a year, and it will aggregate all of the opportunities based on the next codes that you have and email you every single day with all of the opportunities within Planet Bids. Even if you're not registered with the companies or municipalities, agencies, whatever, you can register after. So I made the mistake when I first got certified of like, I'm just going to go find everybody. I'm going to register on all of their sites. And then I found Planet Bids and I'm like, oh, I don't have to pre-register. It will just send me. And then if I'm interested in an RFP, I can then go register for that particular, buyer's Planet Bid site. And then I'm in their system. So it'll aggregate anything under the next codes. And then you can go look at them and see if it's something you want to bid on. So that's Planet Bids. But so Vendor Line is the aggregator of Planet Bids, if that makes sense. So hopefully that's with budgeting. So your marketing blueprint, right? Know your customer and know your niche, right? Build that capability statement if you don't have it, and let them know your certifications. Understand the difference between marketing and advertising. price based on value, not just cost, of course. Invest in your brand every single day, right? Get at one thing, one simple thing. If I have it here, I think it landed in my car. I finally took it out. So I'm gonna look here, so I'm gonna grab real quick. I think it's in my purse, as I want to show you. So make sure, not, I think it is in both of them in my car. I have a name badge, the plastic, so you can go to namebadge.com. It's like 11 bucks, 10 or 11 bucks. White has you see my Golden State Marketing Bear up in the corner on my Zoom, has my bear with my name on it, very clear. Any event I go to, I don't wear their badge with their branding on it. You will see me with my Golden State Marketing badge on, clearly on my chest. I have every single event I've gone to in a business event in LA. Somebody always comes up and says, I get your emails, right? Because I have my bear on my emails, I have my bear on my chest, right? It's building your brand, right? So wearing somebody else's badge, unless they require you have because they have to scan QR codes or whatever, but always wear your branding. Always have your branding with you, your business cards, right? Because people need to see it many times in order, like at least 7 times in order to remember it, right? And they receive at least 7 of my emails in 1 week practically. No, I'm kidding. I don't mail that often. But yeah, that builds your brand, right? So in your name and who you are. So you have to keep getting out there and building that social capital, right? So definitely be active and consistent across all of your social media and everything that you're doing. Is this marketing is about being consistent, right? Check your website. Make sure it's simple, clear, and current. Another tool, if you're using AI, if you don't have a website, or even if you want to update your website, you can have AI do it, right? So I just did this in an AI summit. You can go whatever tool you use, Claude, ChatGPT, whatever, can build your way. You can now actually do it in Lovable. It's called lovable.dev. I'm typing that in the chat. There we go. Maybe if I can type correctly, lovable.dev. Okay, you can go there and say, I need a website for the plumbing contractor. I want it to look like this. I like orange and blue, whatever it is. And you can, based on your spec, it will spit out a site within minutes. And they even host it. So, and I did it, as a sample during this class. I already have a website. And I said, maybe want to refresh it. And so it did a complete redesign. I haven't done anything with it. It just built it. I use Kajabi for the backbone of my site, so I have to integrate it with it. And you can go back in and like, yeah, change the colors and add this section or that section. But literally, it takes minutes and not that much time and effort. And I think a little bit of money to buy credits or something. I don't remember if we paid very much to do the exercise in that. But you can do things quick these days. You're not taking, weeks and months and tens of thousands of dollars to build a website. Even on Canva, you can build a quick website using their Canva AI tools. So, try those out. And then, make sure it's very clear. The messaging is the most important on your website. I don't care how pretty it is, right? Again, using the Simona Caldwell factor from the LA Sports and Entertainment Commission. It has to be very clear, like what you do, who you serve, right? And that's most important because that's what they're looking for. If I'm scratching my head, instead of raising my hand, that's a problem, right? I've reimagined many websites in the past. And then just budget strategically, again, start with what's free. Some things free might not be good if it's taking more time than money. To do it doesn't necessarily balance out, so be careful with that. It's always important to invest in your business. And yeah, so that is it. If you want to talk to me about any aspect of your marketing, follow up on any questions or resources, you are all welcome to schedule a free marketing clarity session. No obligation to do anything with me. Just pick my brain for 30 minutes. You can scan that QR code or go to callwithpatty.com to schedule that call. I'm happy to help any of you out with any of your marketing needs. I don't see any questions here. I know we're at the top of the hour. If you don't have any questions, I can pass it back to Connor. Hopefully, if anything else you wanted covered in this, any questions about resources, let me know.
Thank you very much, Patty. But yeah, I just want to call it out one more time. If anybody has any questions, please throw them in the chat here. While we have this great knowledge in front of us, but if not, you have her contact information. So feel free to reach out. You can also reach out to me with questions as well. But I'll give it another few minutes just in case anybody has any last minute questions. And I'm also going to throw just a QR code for a survey. If you can just scan that and fill it out, just because that helps gives us feedback for these webinars, and same for Patty as well. So I'm going to go ahead and throw that on the screen. Do you mind stopping to share, Patty?
Oh, no. Oh, okay, sure, no problem.
Sorry.
No,
There
okay, yep.
you go.
Oh,
Just
just while you're doing that, Diane, I put that in the chat. It's called lovable.dev. So we did the exercise where in this class, I did this AI summit where we first went to whatever AI tool. I think I used ChatGPT for that. And you gave it the specs of what you wanted. And they had us use this one, I think it was called spectacles dot something, I forgot, that created us a work order for it that then we then put in Lovable. But you can really go directly into Lovable and type in exactly what you're wanting for your website. And it, like I said, it created a beautiful site. And like I said, you can go back and play with it and change colors or design or pictures or whatever. I have a colleague, he's relaunching his business consulting company, and I sent him to Lovable. He was using, I think he was on WordPress before, and we're just going back and forth and tweaking things and and he's using Claude to add new pictures to the website and stuff. So you can, doesn't take that much effort, to build the site compared to how it was before. So a good question. Go ahead, Connor, if you have any.
did you got that question? There
Yeah.
was a couple. Yeah,
Oh,
I
wait,
think there's
another one
another
just
one.
popped in here.
Yeah.
So if I have any personal Facebook accounts, I should delete and restart. No. So, okay. So let me go back, like with LinkedIn. So Facebook, right? We have our profile, right? And I just say it's personal because it's your personal information, right? Not like your professional information. But then you set up a company page that's managed by your profile. So you don't want to delete any your profile. You'll still need that to manage your company pages or page. So you don't delete anything. Just set up a company page, which is separate from your profile. And with LinkedIn, or sorry, with Facebook, it's different. So you have your personal profile because it's you, it's your personal friends and family. But then they added these company pages, so you won't if you post on your company page on Facebook, right? It won't show you that you posted, right? It will, like for me, it won't say posted by Patty Ross. It will say posted by Golden State Marketing. On the internal side, it will show, like, say for example, I have my company, I post, but then maybe I have an assistant, Daniela, she posts, maybe another employee, Mary, she posts. So if I have everybody post on my side, it will show, oh, Mary posted this one, or Daniela posted it, or Patty posted it. And that's just for your internal, like knowing, okay, who posted that thing. But on the external side, your customers only see. So this way, if you want to keep your Facebook profile life private from your business, again, it won't be unless somebody starts digging to find like who owns this page. Um, but it will only show your company information. Where with LinkedIn, right, you have your profile, you're connecting with people as a person because it is business. You shouldn't really be hiding anything. And then you have your company page as well. So it is a little different that way. Facebook, you can hide your personal, information from your page, but you still need that personal profile to manage the page. So that makes sense. And I believe you're going to you'll get the slides, Connor. We'll create a landing page with all the recording and slides and everything on there and some of these resources for later.